I've met a lot of you this weekend. You've heard me go, hi, I'm Krista. So, hi. My husband, Ed, he's home with our 4 boys. I say he has a harder job this weekend. He disagrees. He is not the social one. We have 4. They're 16, 15, 9, and 7. My house is loud and very busy, and I am, unfortunately, the only girl. So we live in southeastern Wisconsin. I'm right on the lake. It's beautiful, except when it snows, and then we get plowed with snow, and then I hate winter, and I wonder why I live there. So I'm an avid reader. I read a lot. I do aerial yoga, and my husband's a video gamer. He enjoys a good video game. I try to be supportive with my book. So we, as a family, enjoy being outside. We camp, we hike, and we just enjoy nature. Wisconsin is very beautiful, and there's a lot to do there. So in 2017 and a little bit before that, we went through a bit of a financial crisis, hit rock bottom. I'm sure many people have unfortunately experienced that. And we started out with Financial Peace University because when you Google, that is what pops up. So that was our first introduction to what the heck do we do? And it was a good starting point, but it did not get us where we needed to go. And then I discovered Choose FI. I still don't remember how. And it introduced me to the concept. My husband is, at the point, was just along for the ride. He listens to me rant about things, very supportive, love him so much. But I discovered the podcast, the group, and lots of books, and just deep dove down into the world. We started paying off a lot of debt. We had a significant amount of credit card debts, car loans, personal loans, just everything rolled in. There was some private student loans, and the deep dive to pay that off, we were not putting very much in the savings. We were just meeting the 5% retirement match on my husband. And then in 2022, we hit our goal of paying off all of that. Thanks. We had also bought our house in 2021. They tell you when you buy a house, it's great, nothing goes wrong, right? Everyone discloses everything wrong with the house. Our AC went out in the middle of a heat wave, so that was fun. We had to put on a new roof, and we had to cash flow a fire hazard renovation. So there's been a lot into our house, but because of finding the group and being financially prepared for purchasing our home, we were able to manage it, which was not to say not stressful, but a relief. And so here we are in 2024. We're in probably like our second full year of our actual FI journey, even though we've been educating ourselves for longer, I guess.
And then on to the goals.
So the goals, my husband is, if you didn't notice, he's a little older than me. So the goal is really to see him retire at 55. He would love me to be able to retire with him, so I would be 44. I would love him to retire at 55, even if that means I continue working for a couple more years. I love my job. I'm a youth outreach specialist at the library. I work with the community and youth a lot, and I adore it. He's a senior web designer, and he doesn't hate his job, but I think he would just appreciate to eventually get out. And then we want to finish funding college for our younger 2 kids. Our older 2 are done. So.
All right, so now we're going to move to the numbers. Hopefully everyone, oh yeah, you can see that pretty good. I was worried about it being really small print, but so the first goal when you're doing a case study is to gather the information, obviously. Krista has been wonderful in getting that together for us all. And then the next step is obviously to organize that information. So we did that with a net worth statement, and we did that with an income and expense report. So here's the net worth statement. Let's just run through this real quick here. So I like to think of the asset side as cash, investments, both taxable and tax deferred, and then use assets. So that's how this is divided up. Cash and cash equivalents, we have checking, which is basically the average checking balance of about $3,000. a high-yield savings account, which is the emergency fund, of $29,000. On the brokerage side, there's about $37,000 in invested assets. On the retirement assets, there's the 401k plan, that's Ed's work 401k plan, which he has been maxing out for the last, I think it's what, 2 years now?
Yep.
Right? The Roth IRAs, which have also been maxed out for the last 2 years. And this year, the 2024 contribution has yet to go in. And so that's $186,000 in retirement assets. Use assets, $420,000 for the home, and automobiles, which are relatively new, 2022 and 2023, with values of $110,000. So that's another $530,000. So total assets, $785,000. We get to liabilities, which obviously is the right-hand side of the balance sheet or net worth statement. Credit cards balances are $6,700, and those are at a 0% interest rate, which I believe resets in 2025, so there's some time to pay that yet. The auto loan, which is on the new vehicle, $40,000. The interest rate, I believe, was 7.5% on that. And then student loans, Ed has one at $46,000, and Jackie's going to talk about that particular portion of the net worth statement, so I'll leave that alone for now. That's at 6%, 6 and change. And then Krista has a student loan of $74,000 and about 4.2, I think, right? The mortgage, $328,000, and the interest rate on that is 2.99, so that's good. It's an FHA loan, which has PMI that runs through the course of the entire loan, so if you adjust for that, it still only brings it to about 4%, so that's a pretty good rate. So liabilities of $496,000, leaving net worth of $289,000. So then we jump to the income and expenses. So on the income side, gross income is $160,000, and you just got the new job at the library, and that's a part-time job at the moment with the possibility of moving to full-time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I'm the first here, so I will get a cost of living adjustment and a raise every year.
Awesome. Okay. So $160,000 in gross income. The payroll deductions are Ed's 401k at $23,000. You have a standard pension plan, right? So that's a 6.75% contribution with a 6.75% match. And I thought you said Ed's match was, is it 5 or 6%?
It's 6%.
6%. Okay, and then for income taxes, we just kind of use an estimated number for that based on their gross income. The fact that you have 4 children, you are getting some significant child tax credits, so we just estimated approximately $12,000 a year for that. The Roth IRA contributions of $7,000 each. And again, yet to be done for 2024, that's $14,000. And then on the expense side, I'm not going to go through these in detail, but basically what we did is we tried to organize these from the standpoint of mortgage, housing and utilities, auto, and we excluded the loan payment and the auto, and I'll get to that in a moment. And then health and medical, other food, clothing, et cetera. But the total expenses are about $96,000 for the year. And on the debt service, and the reason I wanted to pull this out as a separate amount is, so the auto loan is about $8,700 a year, $730 approximately per month. And then the credit card, right now you're paying about $120 a month, but the idea is to have that gone before the 0% goes away. And the student loans, and Jackie will talk a little bit about that, but right now there's only an $83 payment for Ed's loan. And the reason, so let's jump to just the percentages. And the key number here is really the savings rate. So this is the 401k plan plus the 2 Roth IRAs plus your pension, gives you a $39,000 savings on the 160. So as a percentage of gross, it's 24.5% currently. And if you look at the debt service, that was the auto loan, the small student loan, and the credit card, that's $11,000 a year, so that's another 7%. And the reason I wanted to highlight that is because if we go back to the one thing we did not include in the income portion is they are due to receive child support payments of approximately $50,000 for the next 3 years for the 2 older children who are from prior relationships. But we didn't want to include that as the running number because that is only a short period of time. However, as we were having discussions, one of the things that she and Ed are looking to do are pay off that auto loan and pay off that credit card with the first kind of tranche of that money. So by doing that, that savings rate will go from 24.5% to 31%. So that's going to be a big jump. And then the other thing I just wanted to point out before we go to the other panelists is I'm a big fan of automation. So you also have a 457 plan at your employer, which is a great plan, and I know Natalie's going to touch on the benefits of that, especially from the tax standpoint. But the 457 plan, I would consider go ahead and sign up for it, even if it's a token amount. Once you clear those other debts, you can really increase that. And then also, I would also consider, instead of waiting for the Roth IRA contributions to go in when the money is available, setting it up as a monthly payment, and then maybe it's a certain amount, and then you true it up at the end of the year to get the money in there. But again, automating is great. And then as far as the education side, you have the 529 option in Wisconsin, which you get a 4,000, well, almost 4,000, just shy of 4,000 per beneficiary as a state tax deduction. You have a 5% tax rate in Wisconsin, so that's beneficial. And then again, I would sign up for that. I think the minimum is $25 to contribute to that. So go ahead, sign it up, get it started at a small amount. If you wanted to reach the $40,000 goal per child, that would, right now, if you did it for 10 years, would be about $250 a month to get to that. But you could start off with 25 and then adjust accordingly. And again, depending on how important that is in your priority of goals. And then I think we'll go to Jackie here and talk about the student loans.
Yeah, so Krista, my job was kind of to look for blind spots, and that a lot of times that is something us 5 people might want a second check, right? Like we think we got our numbers all right, we think it all makes sense, but I just want a second look. So for you, it was really hard because this girl is on it. So with student loans, anybody here have had student loans in the last 10 years or still have them? Anybody got student loans? So we had a few hands go up. So it's been very confusing over the last, at least the last 5 years since COVID. There's been a lot of changes. And you have federal student loans, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, and you have already done the math, and you are projected to have forgiveness or be qualified for forgiveness in 2027.
Yes.
Right? Okay, and they are not public service loan?
No.
Okay, so she is on an income-driven repayment plan, not public service loan forgiveness. So I wanted to take a closer look at this because there has been so many changes, and possibly some of your forgiveness may be taxable. So the American Rescue Plan, somebody can fact check me on that, but I think it's called the American Rescue Plan. They did extend, or they put a provision where through December 2025, if your loans are forgiven through income-driven, not public service, but income-driven, they will not tax it on the federal level. Normally, it is taxable at the federal level, but through 2025, it is not. So if your loans are not forgiven until 2027, potentially you could be responsible for the taxes on the forgiven amount. Now, it's very easy for you to save for that. You've got 3 years, and who knows, they could change the law, it could get extended, but I'd rather you be covered and have the money that you need. Now, at the state level, you're one of the lucky people that live in the state of Wisconsin. Wisconsin did not follow federal law even prior to 2025. Wisconsin is one of those 4 states, I think Indiana, is Arkansas maybe, North Carolina. So there's like 4 crazy states that said, no, we don't want to follow this regular or this federal provision, and they will tax it at the state level, even if it's before 2025. So we want you to save for that. It's not going to be as much as federal, but you just want to look out for that. If it comes down to, especially on the federal level, where it gets extended, where you will not have to pay those taxes and you got this big chunk of money, you got a lot of options for it. Mm-hmm. And I'd rather see you have more than you need than not enough. And I think that's part of FI, where we are planning for the worst and hope for the best, and that's going to put you in a really good position. And I just want to mention, so I share her line item, that big, I know some of you gave her the side eye with the line item about the vehicles, so that's a pretty big chunk, and mine was kind of a chunk too, and there's so many different like paths to FI, and we have to determine what's important to us, where we might want to throw a little bit more money to, and I kind of did the same thing. I still reached FI, and it was fine, but I know, you know, in some of the, you know, groups and stuff, we brag about having anybody got 300,000 miles in their car? We brag about having 300,000 miles in our cars and things like that. So that line item looked a little different, but I'm like, girl, I share your passion. But
Happy
anyway.
to tell the story of it. You can ask me after.
Yeah. So you're doing great. I just saw that as a blind spot because these new rules and the rules around public service loan forgiveness or federal loan forgiveness is just crazy, and it's very hard to keep up. But man, you did an awesome job. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And then I think we'll go to Sarah Catherine with some comments on savings.
So my favorite thing to talk about is savings rate, just to kind of have a number of where you need to get to your goal. And so I have a little bit of a diagnostic, very, very rough tool that we can use here. But it's just important to recognize you're at a 25% savings rate, how far you've come in just a couple of years. And really, it's about to be 31%. And this is of gross. I know there's differences of opinion on how to use it, but that's a tremendous feat to get to 31% of gross. So if you look at our diagnostic here, it's very conservative assumptions that are built in here. So we want to know what your ratio of your nest egg is to your income, your gross income. And so you're almost at 2 times your gross income in savings. And so, and we look at financial savings. And so if you look at, we're going to go with Ed's age because we want him to be the one to be able to retire. You can see that for him to be able to retire by 65, you all should probably have between a 20 and a 25% savings rate. So you're there, but that's not where we're wanting to go, is it? No. So let's go to the next slide. Let's go to our FIRE table, which is, now you should get your cameras out. So on this one, you can see that it's a little bit harder. So we've lost kind of the time and compound interest. There's a little bit more of a headwind. Mm-hmm. So you can see that you need to get to about a 50% savings rate, which is not impossible. But if, obviously you're at a place where we know that he'll be able to retire sometime before age 65 if you changed nothing. Mm-hmm. But every single thing you change on the margin, every single income increase that you plow into your savings rate is going to get you closer to this number. And then the other point that we can bring up is that it doesn't have to be an all or nothing cliff retirement. One of you could work part-time and help one of you retire full-time, so you'll have these options. Okay. Congrats.
Thanks.
And then we have Natalie, who has some other ideas on what you just heard about, potentially.
So before I dive into that, on the 457, there's a ton of benefits with it, but 2 of the big ones are that it gives you a secondary bucket to basically fund. And one of the better benefits is that it has a separation clause. So when you leave that job, you're allowed to access that money without the penalty, and we know you're not trying to stay there till that age, so that's a huge benefit to get that set up and start looking at that. The second thing that I love suggesting, because I'm in tax, is having some kind of a side hustle, right? Just because, like Sarah's just saying, that if you can increase your income and get that into that savings rate, that's huge. But at the same time, the tax code was written for people who own businesses and own real estate, and there's so many benefits. I don't know if you heard, but you can actually employ your kids. I heard there was a cool talk about this. So in doing that, it's kind of giving you a dual benefit there, where you can drop off some of your taxable costs. You get to take some of the expenses you're incurring anyway in day-to-day life, like your phones and your internet, and shift them over to being deductible. So we're dropping the amount of tax you pay, increasing your income, and you've got 4 boys who are all of an age that you can put them to work. Figure out what they will do and put them to work. So I just think that having any kind of a side hustle, something you guys love doing, getting that income up and working it into your savings rate would be a huge benefit on more than one front.
And then we have Frank that I think is going to teach us a little bit about the Wizard of Oz.
Yes. I want to zoom out and really think about where you've come and how far you've gone, because every FI journey is a hero's journey. You've already done a lot of things that are very heroic. I don't know if the audience really appreciates it, but Krista was a teenage mom. She grew up in poverty. She was not getting the child support she was entitled to, and she's really turned things around in the past few years. And so we're looking at a map of the hero's journey that you're on. This is from Michael Kitz's, one of my favorite personal finance writers and experts. And where you were, it was in the blue area, where you're just trying to get out of debt, just trying to have money to save. We call that Kansas in the Wizard of Oz. And Kansas is a bleak place. It's black and white. There are tornadoes. There's this mean lady trying to get your dog and have it destroyed by the sheriff. But what you were talking about at the beginning when we went through those steps was really getting out of Kansas and getting over to the save category here. Now we call that Munchkin Land. Now what you do in Munchkin Land, and you do something different in each one of these places. In Munchkin Land is where you get all of your ducks in a row. And what we've been talking about here is particularly what Mark went through with the different accounts, getting your new job. So you're figuring out, where am I going to save this money? What is my plan? You're planning here, and that's the stage we're at. And this is a good stage to have this conversation, because now you're ready to move forward and implement your plan. And so there are those questions here about lifestyle creep and actually saving, because as you go forward here, you need to think about, well, how am I going to make sure that my income side is growing faster than my lifestyle side? And if you can keep that going and growing your gap there, it's going to speed things up as you go along the way. Now, of course, the next place is grow, and that is the yellow brick road. On the yellow brick road is where you are implementing your plan. And the goal there is to just be consistent, to make sure that every month you're saving that money in those accounts, that you are minding your lifestyle and seeing whether there's extra that you can save. As I mentioned, this is where the compounding happens. You have the magic ruby slippers, and they go faster and faster as you go along here. At some point along in the grow phase, you meet a scarecrow. He looks like Bon Jovi. And at that point, you're at Bon Jovi Fire. You're at Bon Jovi Fi. You're halfway there. And he'll say, "Take my hand, we'll make it, I swear." Whoa, living on a prayer. So, and that will be a place where you really start then looking at your accounts, because you've already set it up, and we've talked through this, that you are investing appropriately for this stage in those index funds. But keeping essentially the pedal to the metal as far as the investing is concerned. When you get halfway there is where you start looking at, what are my investments and how do I need to modify that as I get towards the purple area, which should be the green area because it's Emerald City. You're a long way from there right now, but this is what you have to look forward to as you go forward, and I think you should really just think about this whole journey and how far you've gone and how far you've got to go. You're between the save and grow phase right now. But it's really fantastic, and this really is an example of what Dale Collins was talking about in that video that we started the morning with, about this journey is for everybody. It's not just for people who are privileged and start off with a lot of resources and things like that. And with that, I will conclude this Wizard of Oz presentation.
Okay, thank you. And so normally at this point in time, we would be having conversations back and forth about different things, but obviously on this stage, we don't have the ability to do that, but we are interested in some of your observations of what we presented and our observations on your finances and so forth and goals. Any comments you'd like to make on that?
Well, I've obviously had longer conversations with them. It's just some really valuable information, especially the taxes for student loans. It's something that I knew about the federal level. I did not know about the state, and I knew the federal was there, but I didn't know that it ended in 2025, so it's something to keep in mind, because I would rather be prepared. I wouldn't want to wipe out an emergency fund. It's thankful that it's there, but how much that would suck to have to do that. But at the end of the day, it's just a wealth of information to confirm that, one, I'm not alone. I feel like I made like 500 friends that are cheering me on. And I hope that it really confirms that there shouldn't be taboo about sharing your numbers, and I hope that it really helps other people be more open to sharing just real life. I mean, you can see my real life is pretty messy right now. It's not like, I mean, he made it look very pretty. But it really isn't like, just everything isn't beautiful. I have 4 kids. They are expensive.
I knew it.
But yeah, my 15-year-old ate a 4-pound sirloin roast for lunch by himself at school one day. So, but it just, you guys really helped confirm that I'm not alone and I am on the right path. So I'm still in like what I feel like the baby stages, but we're in the right direction. And my husband won't be 65 when he retires. So.
And I think I speak for all of us up here. We're obviously interested in your journey as you move forward and happy to help in any way we can. So this is not a one and done over process. So feel free to contact any of us. And Jackie has some special gifts here, I believe.
Yeah, so we got friends in high places too, okay? A lot of our 5 friends own businesses and companies, so I'm like, why don't I just hit them up so we can load Krista up with some gifts, right? So the first thing was Jeremy. I think Jeremy's here. Not only did he donate a free session on Nectarine, he wrote a very, very nice note directly to Krista because you're such a brave soul. That was so nice. Next we've got, yes. And Jeremy was a speaker from last year's EconoMe. It was amazing. And then the next one is student loan planner, Travis Hornsby. He also spoke at the first EconoMe with me. So I'm like, hey, Travis, remember when you spoke at EconoMe? We're doing something different. He was more than happy to donate a session to get you straight with your student loans, make sure I didn't overlook anything, so we'll give you another second look. And then the last one was Cody Garrett. Everybody know Cody Garrett. He's sort of like our favorite FI planner. He came out with a new DIY financial planning, do-it-yourself financial planning that we all love. He put that together with the FI community in mind. You get that course for free. And then the biggest thing, you and your entire family, I'm going to load you up with $2 bills. There you go.
Made my kids' day.
So we hope that you have found this informational and able to maybe bring this back to your own meetup groups and do case studies. I would encourage you to do that. I know there are many Choose FI groups that are doing it. At the latest Camp FIs that I've been to, we've been doing a number of those. I even heard there was an Airbnb group that was part of this event that did one while they were at their Airbnb over here, yes. So, as we all know, FI is better with friends, especially when you're helping each other achieve their goals. So thank you all.